A reading from the book of Deuteronomy. Moses said to the people, "See, today I set before you life and prosperity, death and disaster. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, then I enjoin on you today. If you love the Lord your God and follow his ways, if you keep his commandments, his laws, his customs, you will live and increase. And the Lord your God will bless you in the land which you are entering to make your own. But if your heart strays, if you refuse to listen, if you let yourself be drawn into worshipping other gods and serving them, I tell you today, you will most certainly perish. You will not live long in the land you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you today. I set before you life or death, blessing or curse. Choose life, then, so that you and your descendants may live in the love of the Lord your God, obeying his words, clinging to him, for in this your life consists, and on this depends your long stay in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob he would give them." The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Happy the man who has placed his trust in the Lord. Happy the man who has placed his trust in the Lord. Happy indeed is the man who follows not the counsel of the wicked, nor lingers in the way of sinners, nor sits in the company of scorners, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who ponders his law day and night. Happy is the man who has placed his trust in the Lord. He is like a tree that is planted beside the flowing waters, that yields its fruit in due season, and whose leaves shall never fade, and all that he does shall prosper. Happy is the man who has placed his trust in the Lord. Not so are the wicked, not so, for they, like winnowed chaff, shall be driven away by the wind. For the Lord guards the way of the just, but the way of the wicked leads to doom. Happy is the man who has placed his trust in the Lord. The Gospel Acclamation. Praise and honor to you, Lord Jesus. A pure heart create for me, O God, and give me again the joy of your help. Praise and honor to you, Lord Jesus.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to his disciples, "The Son of Man is destined to suffer grievously, to be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and scribes, and to be put to death, and to be raised up on the third day." Then to all he said, "If anyone wants to be a follower of mine, let him renounce himself and take up his cross every day and follow me. For anyone who wants to save his life will lose it. But anyone who loses his life for my sake, that man will save it. What gain then is it for a man to have won the whole world and to have lost or ruined his very self?" The Gospel of the Lord. Those of a certain age will remember the song, "You say tomato, I say tomato. You say potato, I say potato." I'm getting confused. I'm not old enough to remember the song quite rightly, obviously. I use it partly as a tribute to those who are joining us from America, but please don't follow the conclusion that the song comes to, "Let's call the whole thing off." The song decides that these differences in language are perhaps too much to overcome. I wanted to explore not so much the difference in pronunciation that's revealed in today's liturgy, but the difference in language, particularly one word. I found myself distracted at morning prayer this morning in the house chapel by the use of the word as the introduction to the Benedictus. Those who pray the Benedictus, the morning prayer at home, will know that the antiphon said, "If anyone wishes to be a follower of mine, he must deny himself." And it struck a chord with me, because I was thinking that's not actually the translation that I've been reflecting on for this morning's gospel. The word deny has something perhaps almost negative about it, though it is softened by the sense deny themselves. But nonetheless, denial seems to be about that withholding or withdrawing, and doesn't necessarily bring with it a sense of for what purpose. The gospel text we've just heard uses a different word in that translation. If anyone wants to be a follower of mine, let him renounce himself. Take up his cross every day and follow me. According to the dictionary, I looked it up, to renounce is to give up a right, but not simply to give it up, to actually give it back. There's that sense of restoring it, perhaps to the one whose right it might properly be. In this context, that sense of giving back to God. And in that way seemed to me a more helpful phrase to reflect on, because it seems to be at the heart of this whole Lenten retreat. Not that we give up things just so we can go without, so we can prove some strength of character, so that we can somehow prove to ourselves that we can do it. But rather that sense of denying ourselves in order that we may focus on that which is more important, to focus on God, and during this time, as we focus on Him, to recognize the responsibility that gives us for our brothers and sisters. And hence we find ourselves with those three cornerstones of our Lent, through prayer, through fasting, through almsgiving, all of which have that sense of giving to another, giving back to others whose rights may well have been infringed, as it were, by the way in which we have become casual and careless in the use of our gifts and our time and of our energies. To recognize that all belongs to God. And in that way, we discover that we are reliant on Him. And as we discover that reliance, we discover too that extraordinary joy, that anyone who loses their life for my sake will find it. The opening prayer for this morning, and I think one of the things that's indicative about the Missal and the way it lays out the prayers is that you can tell those important days because they each have their own prayers. And that is true of this time. Whereas in an ordinary week, we would use the same prayer Monday through Saturday. At this time, there is a focused prayer for each day. And it therefore is worth reflection in itself, because it tells us something about the readings, it tells us something about the focus for this liturgy. And you should recall, it prayed that we recognize that everything begins in God, and that we might therefore cooperate with Him, and that through Him everything will be brought to completion. Pray for a moment that will actually be the focus of our Lent, recognizing that everything begins in God and praying that through Him it will be brought to completion.